I'm joined with. It's just me. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to do a solo episode, and I thought, what better way to do a solo episode than to just go through my top picks of 2023. So it's like Tope's Wrapped, basically, essentially. Um, yeah, I'm a Spotify user. So, yeah, we're going to go through my Spotify Wrapped a little bit. And I thought before I went into 2023, I would like go back in time and see what I was listening to in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and, what got me here. I feel like it's fun to look back at who you were and like who you are now. And I just think it's always funny to like look at my Wrapped and just talk about it. And I know there's like a ton of memes, about like, oh, I have to listen to this because my Spotify Wrapped is coming out, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like that's so true for me. I feel like there's always a sneak and on this list, and not like a sneak in a shady way, just like I will be obsessed with a song. I'm a person that like will listen to a song on repeat, and I feel like these days a lot of artists release songs that are like 2 minutes, so I'm always just shocked the songs and the artists that are on my Wrapped. Anyway, let's start with 2020. Okay, so my top artists for 2020 were Beach Fossils, Megan Thee Stallion, Phoebe Bridgers, Harry Styles, and 100 Gags. And Beach Fossils, obviously, I think I saw them in 2019 that year. They were touring with Surf Curse. And I don't know, I live in New York now, but I've lived in Charlotte-ish, North Carolina. I wasn't really there, but that's where the concerts were, and like places in North Carolina I would travel to. And sometimes I'd go to Atlanta. And then I went to college in Miami. So there's not that many venues. Like I'm in New York now. Beach Fossils just played Knockdown Center, which is like an 1,800 cap. And when I was in college, they played this venue called the Gramps, and I don't know what that cap is. I'm assuming it's like 250. Someone correct me on that if I'm wrong. Anyway, it's crazy to see like the differences in like where you are and like how audiences translate. Anyway, I was obsessed with them. I'm obsessed with Surf Curse, and I literally was just listening to. They had no new music. I was just listening to Somersault, I think, and I was just obsessed. I don't know. Back in the day, I used to prep for concerts, so I would be like, I need to know all the words. So that was part of that. And then obviously, 2020 is when the pandemic began, and I'm not gonna lie, I had TikTok in 2019, but Megan Thee Stallion, that was like her peak. I don't know. She's still on the come up. Like she still has like an amazing career, and like it's still gonna do what it's gonna do. like, but it was like the era of TikTok dances, like Savage, Captain Hook. I know there's other ones that I'm probably forgetting, like BITCH. Like those were really popular at the time, if I'm not mistaken. And I was obsessed with Megan Thee Stallion. Like I was listening to. I have to look it up. What was I listening to? Okay, so at the time I was listening to Fever, and this was before DaBaby did that whole homophobic rant shit. But Cash Shit was like a song that I really loved. Reeler is such a good song, and if you don't know it, you need to listen to it now. And then Simon Says featuring Juicy J. Like Juicy J is just an icon. Anyway, let's move on. Phoebe Bridgers. And what can I say? Phoebe Bridgers is just one of my favorite artists. She, as you'll see, has been in my top artist for 3 years and counting. And then, sadly, in 2023, got dethroned and kicked out of the top 5. But, yeah, I just think that Stranger in the Alps is like one of my favorite albums, hands down. Like, Motion Sickness, obviously, but, Funeral just makes me want to sob. And then like Georgia Smoke Signals, just a ton of those songs. And then I think also in 2020, that was like around the time when promo for Puncher was happening, and I truly was loving the single Garden song. And I'm not gonna lie, I was so like enwrapped in like Stranger in the Alps that Punisher didn't really start being on repeat for me until 2021 and 2022. So that's when those songs came into effect. Yeah, and then Harry Styles is on here. I'm a Directioner, we know this. Like in past episodes, when I was talking with Frawley, I was talking about how I was a Nile girl. But I don't know, like ever, I don't know. I'm kind of like a fake One Direction fan. Like I fell off like when Made in the AM came out, and I never got into any of their solo stuff really. But then Harry's first single came out for this album, and it was lights out. I mean, lights up. And I don't know. I'm a sucker for anything with like a gospel choir. And then I think the next single was Adore You, which I loved. And I didn't care for Watermelon Sugar, but it was catchy. And so I was really excited for the album to come out. And so I just was obsessed with that album. Like, She was by far my favorite song off of that album. Like, there's so many things that I can think of on that album that really stood out to me. If I'm thinking about it, like Fine Line is just, I think Fine Line is his best album. I'm not gonna lie. Like, To Be So Lonely is on there. Cherry, Golden, like it doesn't get better than that. And I can only say that because I did listen to his self-titled album, and I do like it. Like Kiwi, Only Angel, Sweet Creature, those are really good songs. But like I don't like listening to the album all the way through, but I do like listening to Fine Line all the way through. And I'm not gonna lie, I haven't listened to Harry's House, so I can't speak on it. So Fine Line to me is just his best album. And then 100 Gex was my fifth top artist for 2020. And that was just because I'm gonna let you guys on a little secret. Like, don't tell on me and don't judge me. But at the time, I was a Brockhampton fan, but I was falling off. And then like Sugar was just a really, really good album to me. And I think it was their last good album. But like, Brockhampton stans don't come for me. But anyway, I saw them in the Fillmore in Miami in 2019. And Slow Tie and 100 Gex were opening, and I went in not knowing who they were. Like, Slow Tie, I thought that was going to be like an R&B singer, and it was not, and I was completely shocked. And 100 Gex, I was completely shocked, and I ended up really loving 100 Gex. And I got into Hand Crushed by a Mallet. Stupid Horse was on repeat. I really love Rico Nasty, so that year I think they came out with like the remix album, and like Ringtone with Charlie and Rico obviously, and Caro Caro Bonito came out, so then obviously they were going to be on my top list that year. My top songs were Dizzy on the Come Down by Turnover, Adore You by Harry Styles, In the Party by Flo Milli, and then Hand Crushed by a Mallet by 100 Gex. And then my fifth top song was WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And when Spotify Wrapped came out in 2020, I remember I posted this. I literally left out the fifth song because I was like, that's kind of embarrassing that I was listening to that on repeat. But hey, don't hate. You were listening to that song on repeat. It was just, Megan's part was just grabbing, had you in a chokehold. And you shouldn't be ashamed. Music is fun. Okay, 2021. Let's go to 2021 because I think 2021 is a fun year. That's when we were still in COVID times, but we wanted to see if live music could come back. And my top artists were Japanese Breakfast, Cherry Glazer, Phoebe Bridgers, Faye Webster, and Mannequin Pussy. So Japanese Breakfast was my top artist. They came out with a really great album, Jubilee. I love that album. Like, Be Sweet was my favorite song. Like, I would listen to that all the time. And then Posing in Bondage is so good. Savage Good Boy in Hell, Posing for Cars, obviously. And also, Japanese Breakfast was my first concert back after, we weren't really going to shows anymore. And they had Mannequin Pussy open for them. So that also ties in why the two of them are really my top artists for this year. And then also, Mannequin Pussy released a Perfect EP, which was perfect, and my favorite song was perfect. So it was just all around a good time. And then Cherry Glazer was my number two artist. Like, they weren't really releasing music, but they were releasing banger singles like Big Bang and Rabbit Hole, and it was just so much, like, it was so sonically different than anything that she's ever put out. Like, I was just amazed and I was so excited, and I was like, oh my god, are they coming out with a new album soon? I don't know. It didn't happen for another 2 years, but those singles, I couldn't get enough of them, like Big Bang especially. And then, of course, here we are again. Phoebe Bridgers was number three. No notes. I just really got into Punisher this year. And then Faye Webster. They had I Know I'm Funny came out, which was, I was going to say their sophomore, but it's not. It's like their fourth album that's come out. And I had recently just really gotten into Atlanta Millionaires Club, so it was just perfect timing that they were releasing like another album. So I was obsessed with that. Like, if you don't like the song Flowers featuring Father on Atlanta Millionaires Club, I don't want to talk to you, like, at all. Like, that was my favorite song. And then my top songs for 2021 were Big Bang by Cherry Glazer, Be Sweet by Japanese Breakfast, Sword by Ian Sweet, presumably Dead Arm by Sydney Gish, and then Rabbit Hole by Cherry Glazer again. Yeah, so I think, oh, this was the year that I got Bubble Grunge, I think. Was this one? Bubble Grunge was a thing? Because, like, listen, my top 5 all women this year. Like, I love that. And they were like, do you like women who make rock music? Then maybe you like Bubble Grunge. But yeah, I think that was my top. So, moving on to 2022. My top artists were Bruce the Eighth, Mama, Wombo, Phoebe Bridgers, and Mitski. Yeah, Brutus the Eighth, I had them on the pod. It was a really great episode. If you haven't listened, you should check it out. Did you see how I did that? Did you see how I plugged another episode? Anyway, yeah, I had them on and we talked about their single Fucking Asshole, which was my jam. They just really make really great new wave music, and if you look them up on Spotify, I think their top song is Japanese Candy, and that really, I feel like that's so misleading to the type of music that they put out, and I don't know, I think that's so misleading. Like, if you listen to that album, like, that I feel like isn't representative of what they sound like. And so I was obsessed with the Fucking Asshole. And then, like, if you listen to the episode, he talked about, like, how it was kind of like a throwaway song, which I'm so surprised by. Like, I love that. I love hearing it live. So, yeah, you should check it out. Mama. This was the year Household Name was released, and I just really was loving all of the singles, like Speeding 72, Rockstar. But, like, my favorites off of that album, like, include Tall Home. And then, like, I just love Tall Home a lot. And then I was also going back to their sophomore album, I believe, and then I was just listening to Not a Runner, Biohazard, and Habitat on repeat. Like, Not a Runner is such a good song, and I wish they would play it live, but they don't. And then Wombo. I got into Wombo just from, like, doing this, like, random, get a $5 random vinyl from Fire Talk, and then I got, Blossom Looks Down Upon Us, and then the promo for Fairy Rust was happening at the same time, so it just ended up becoming one of my favorite albums of 2022. Phoebe Bridgers, we've been there, done that. Like, we know. Mitski, Mitski was my top artist just because, like, it was just kind of a Mitski revival for me because the new album, Laurel Hell, was coming out, and I was obsessed with Should Have Been Me and the first single, Working for the Knife. As a mid-20-something, I think I could relate to that song. It just, like, gutted me, that song. And then, obviously, that just led me to go back down the rabbit hole of just listening to songs that I love by Mitski, like Crack Baby, like Liquid Smooth. Liquid Smooth is so good. And then just, like, you know, other songs like Nobody and things like that. So, just kind of really encapsulated life. And then my top songs were Olympus by Blonde Shell, A Fucking Asshole by Bruce the Eighth, Girls by The Dare, Fugazi by Beethoven, and Dreamsicle by Wombo. Olympus, I I love that song. Like Bonchel came out with a really great album in 2023, and like I was obsessed with Olympus. I was obsessed with all of the singles they put out. I just couldn't get enough of it. And then obviously I've talked about the other girls. It was just September came around. I live in New York, and like it's a 2 minute catchy song. Like I like the girls who do drugs. It's good. And then also I had Shallow Halo and May Rio on the pod, and they do background vocals for that song. And that's a fun fact if you didn't know. It's not really a fun fact. I feel like everyone knows that, but if you didn't know, now you know. And now let's move on to my 2023 Wrapped, which you've all been waiting for, obviously. Um, yeah. So before I get to my like top artists and my top songs, let's go through the whole entire thing, shall we? So my top genres were indie pop, rap, lo-fi indie, bubble grunge, making a reappearance, and pop. Yeah, I think this is pretty indicative of what I listen to. Like this year, I have been listening to a lot of pop music. I love her. And also, I've been listening to a lot of rap music. I think anytime rap makes it into my top genres, it's like a year when female rap is like really popping. And I think there's just so many breakout female rappers that have come out within like the past 5 years. And all of them are just so amazing and fun, and they all bring a little bit of something different. Like obviously Ice Spice blew up kind of last year and this year, and they came out with their album Like, and obviously Sexy Red, I love Sexy Red, I'm sorry. And they came out with their album Hood Hottest Princess, and that's a fun album to listen to. And yeah, I don't know. And then just like with my normal rotation of rap music, I feel like I love 21 Savage, so I was listening to a lot of old 21 Savage songs. And then I was listening to Handsome and Wealthy by Migos, and then that one song by Vay Vanilla, which is kind of like a TikTok-y song, but it's so good. Like the first verse, I was playing that over and over and over and over again, and it obviously shows. Yeah, lo-fi indie makes sense. I mean, I really love, like, I don't know, shoegazy things that don't really have a lot of lyrics in them. Yeah, and then moving on. I want people to comment on my IG post when I post about this episode what city you got. And I obviously think that you guys can guess what city I got, or like where you think I got. But I got Burlington, Vermont, obviously. Yeah, I thought all the memes about Burlington, Cambridge, and Berkeley were so funny. Like, who else is moving to the Cambridge, Berkeley, Burlington commune with me? And yeah. And then, like, I love how even, like, some singers got involved. Like, Charlie tweeted, next album, defo giving Berkeley, but for now, I guess I'm a Burlington girl through and through. And then this is, like, another favorite tweet of mine from that is, like, Berkeley, California son, or Burlington, Vermont daughter. I'm a Burlington, Vermont daughter. Yeah. Okay, now I'm gonna go through my top Spotify artists. Yeah, okay, so my top artists were model actress Karen Joyce, Alex G, Slow Pulp, and Troye Sivan, according to Spotify. But obviously, since since I am a music girly, I obviously have Last FM as well. And it was a little bit different, but it wasn't like that different, if I'm being quite honest. Like, my top artists currently, according to Last FM, are model actress Karen Joyce, SZA, Troye Sivan, and 24 Thank You. So I just like to see like what the difference is. And then in some cases I feel like Spotify is right, but then Last FM is wrong. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, according to Spotify, these are my top 5 artists. And yeah, like model actress, obviously, I think I've they were like one of the first bands I got to when I moved to New York. And I think if you like listen to previous episodes, like I've talked about them before, and I was obsessed when Dog's Body came out. Um, yeah, I've gone to a couple of their shows since I moved here, and they were playing that entire album the whole time. And it was just fun to finally see the songs come out and then actually be able to listen to them. And they're playing at a show that I'm obviously going to December 13th at Music House of Williamsburg. So if you're a New Yorker and you're showing up, let me know. Yeah, and then opening for them, going into my next artist, is Current Joys. And this, to me, like I was talking about earlier, is a sneak. Not because I love Current Joys, like I'm not gonna say that I don't, like I love them down, but they're mainly in my top artists because of the song Cigarettes. And I am looking at my Last FM, and according to Last FM, I have 286 scrobbles of Current Joys, but 117 of those are from the song Cigarettes. So that's like at least a third, almost half of my listening to Current Joys. But I think it's cool. Yeah, and then also, I didn't know like their new album Love and Pop had like a lot of controversy around it. Not controversy in like a bad way, just like fans weren't really happy because it's not like the classic if you're thinking Current Joy sound, like if you're like listening to Kids or New Flesh. But I don't know. I loved the new sound. Like it's very very SoundCloud inspired, like definitely giving hints of like Lil Peep, Lil Tracy, like Young Lean influence, like definitely giving those kinds of vibes. Then my third artist was Alex G. I'm kind of late to the Alex G train, and in an episode I put out next week, the guest that I talked to, we talk about that a little bit. And I think I was listening when I was maybe back in high school, maybe in college, when he started using Sandy Alex G. I think I was listening to that most popular album, and then I kind of fell off. And then I tried again with House of Sugar, but it really just wasn't an album for me personally. And then God Save the Animals came out, and it really got me into Alex G. And a whole slew of things like made me realize that like I like a lot of music that sounds like Alex G anyway. Like, Micah Priete, Greg Mendez, etc., etc. And then my fourth artist was Slow Pulp. And I was really just obsessed with Falling Apart from Movies. That's the name of the album. And then I really loved all the singles from their new album that just came out this year, and been listening to that on loop. And then my fifth popular artist was Troye Sivan. Now that's also a sneak because I was just obsessed with Rush and got me started for like literally the longest time. I couldn't stop listening to them. I literally would just put it on while I was at work and like listen to that on repeat because like I don't know, it was giving me motivation. Yeah, and then in my top 10 of artists, like just giving honorable mentions, like SZA was there, 24 Thank You, Frost Children, Slow Pulp, Abby Sage, and this is all according to Last FM. And then my top albums of 23, these are my top albums. Dog's Body, obviously, like just such a good album from like front to back. Like there's just like no skips on that album. Like the transition from Crossing Guard into Slate, like Crossing Guard ending when and it feels like, and then like all of that dreamy stuff, and then goes right into to Slate, and it's like pressure, blah 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 blah. Like love that. And if I had to pick favorites off of this album, I feel like I would say that it's Slate, Pure Mode, Slate, Pure Mode, or Donkey Show are my favorites. Yeah. And then the next album is SOS by SZA. I feel like this isn't an album that I like listening all the way through, like Control, but the songs that I do listen to, like I love a lot. like Ghost in the Machine and Special. I know I had those songs on repeat like so much during the year in 2023. Yeah. And then my third most listened to album was Everything I Was Burning Slow by 24 Thank You. There's like, words can't express how good this album is. Like, if you're not listening to them, IDK, what you're doing. Like, it's just such an interesting experimental lo-fi indie adjacent album, and it's very cohesive back to front. Like, I love listening to this album like front to back, and it's also just like good to have on in the background too. Like, you can listen to this, like I listen to this album while I read, and I listen to it while I do things in the house, but I also just love listening to it like leisurely. Fourth most listened to album was Love and Pop. I just like I already told you guys, like, I love the SoundCloud rap influence in it, and I just really love that album. My fifth most listened to album was Speedrun by the Frost Children, and I just love Spiral from them. That came out last year, I believe, and then Speedrun did not disappoint. Speedrun did not disappoint. Like, I don't care what Pitchfork says. I love this album. Sick Trip is my fave song, and I love listening to that back to back. Some honorable mentions that like made my top 10 but aren't my top 5 are Might Bail by Rennie Conti. Like, Wally off of that album's amazing. The Florist is a great EP by Abby Sage, like front to back, so beautiful and amazing. Greg Mendez with their self-titled album, like I've said already, like gives Alex G vibes, and like I really could not stop listening to Maria. And then God Save the Animals, you know, Blessing and Runner were my favorite off of those. Now, my favorite albums of 2023. And some of them are repeats, like, obviously, because I feel like top and favorite are completely different. But some of them are going to repeat, and then I just won't do an explanation for them. So these are going to be my top 10. And in no particular order, this is just how I have it organized in my notes. So it's not ranked. Like, I think I would have an existential crisis if I had to rank them, because I already hate picking out my favorites. I'm like, I don't know. I listen to so much good shit. Like, I don't know what I would pick to be in my favorites, because this was like a hard process for me to decide. But I did it for you guys. Yeah, so with that, I'm just going to go into it. Obviously, Dog's Body, which I already talked about, by Model Actress. Everything I Was Burning Slow by 24 Thank You, which I talked about. Rat Saw God by Wednesday. Like, I love the country music influence in this. And then I love Bull Believer. I just love an 8-minute song. And I literally love any song that has like a good scream in it. Like, just like something like that. Yeah, so yeah, that's another album that I really like. Moving on, I really like Senta by Ellen Book. That's a really good lo-fi album if you haven't checked it out. Everyone's Crush by Water From Your Eyes. Like, really love True Life. Like, I really love, like, I'm not really into electronic music that much, but I like things that are like experimental in a way where they mix like indie rock-ish with electronic elements, and you'll see that like with other things that are included in this list. And then I've Seen a Way by Mandy Indiana. Like, I love Mandy Indiana. Like, I just love them so much. I love experimental industrial music like this. It makes me want to get more into electronic music. Like, I've literally been waiting for them to release more stuff since their like EP ... And then I've Seen a Way came out, and I was obsessed with it. I got into them the same way that I got into Wombo, which was just during the pandemic. I would just look at smaller labels, and they're on Fire Talk, by the way. And I would just go through the artists and then like give them a listen and see if I liked them. And Mandy Indiana was like one that stood out to me because I just really, really fell in love with the song Bottle Episode. And I saw them last night, and the show was amazing. Like, literally stage presence, amazing. Like, the show that they put on was cool. Like, sold out show. That Baby's Alright. It was so funny. There was a fight that broke out. Like, there was a fight that broke out. It was so funny. Yeah, this person, like, this girl instigated it, and then, I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it, but it was funny. Like, she was kind of hilarious in her own way. Okay, and then moving on. I'm Green by Mally Velasquez. I hope I'm saying that right. It's very singer songwritery, country vibes. Like, I love Shove off of that album, and yeah, I really love Shove off of that album, and it kind of gives Phoebe Bridgers to me, but not really. I just think if you like Phoebe Bridgers, you will like Mally Velasquez. I don't think they're really that similar. And then Girl with a Fish by Phoebe Little Horse. I don't really have too much to comment on this album, but it's really just, I don't know, I just found myself, like, also with, like, how I said with 24 Thank You, I just really had it on a lot while I was, like, reading and, like, when I was, like, doing stuff around the house and chores, and, like, it helps me focus. And then Cartwheel by Hotline TNT, and then Tracy Denim by Bartalia. Those are my top 10 fave albums of 2023. Some honorable mentions: Pure Music by Strange Ranger, Like by Ice Spice, Stereo Mind Game by Daughter, and Hood Hottest Princess by Sexy Red. Okay, and then my top songs of 2023 were Cigarettes by Current Joys, Got Me Started by Troye Sivan, Not Yours by Vay Vanilla, Rush by Troye Sivan, and Maria by Greg Mendez. It makes sense, ladies and gents, but let's not discuss my top songs. Let's discuss my favorite songs. And this list was a little bit harder because I had a lot of favorite songs in 2023. I don't know. I have 13 listed here, and I'm going to talk about them a little bit. Not really, because I feel like sometimes I don't know what I should say in a song, like, about songs. So I'm just going to probably list them a little bit, maybe talk about them a little bit. So obviously not in any particular order, again, like I said before. Okay, Police Scanner by Chanel Beads, and, like, this isn't surprising to me because F was in my top 10 songs this year, and Police Scanner actually made it into my top 100 songs, and this came out in November, if I'm not mistaken, so that's funny. Dang by Caroline Polachek, Shove by Mally Velasquez, Slate by Model Actress, and, like, I was talking about my favorites earlier off of that album, and I guess if I had to choose one, I would choose Slate to be my favorite. Bull Believer by Wednesday. As I mentioned, I love a scream. Maria by Greg Mendez. I just, like, love the storytelling process in that song. Sick Trip by Frost Children. Oh Shut Up by King and Consort. May Rio put me onto that song from that interview and their playlist. I really got obsessed with the song. True Life by Water From Your Eyes. Everything I Was Burning Slow by 24 Thank You. Milk by Abby Sage. Favorite by Somo, I think. And Pinking Shears by Mandy Indiana. Yeah, those are my favorites of 2023. I'd love to know you guys' favorites also. So, like, DM me or, like, comment. I love to talk about music with people, and I love to listen to new music. So if you want to give me any new music, I'd be happy to hear it. What I'm looking for now, moving on to what I'm looking forward to in 2024. I didn't really go in depth on this like I should have. Like, I don't think I really I go through music to watch out for monthly. I don't really do it a full year in advance, but there are some that I'm really excited for. And then I looked up a little bit of some artists. Like, I didn't go that deep, but these are some artists that I'm looking forward to listening to new projects in 2024. So Somo is releasing an EP in February, and I'm really excited for that because Favorite has just been on repeat for me for, like, ever. It made it into my top 10 songs. And then Susanna Joffe is releasing an EP in January. I just recently saw them live, and they played their song I'd Hate Me Too, which is releasing December 15th, which you guys should check out when it releases. She played that live, and she has such amazing vocals, and that song also has a scream in it. And as I've said already, I love a good scream. So I'm really looking forward to that EP that's coming out. I love the song My Dog Died that she put out earlier this year. So I'm just looking forward to it. And then these are 3 other albums that I'm kind of interested in seeing, like the Veronicas. Like, I love the Veronicas. They, like, Forever, Untouched, great songs. I want to see what they're up to now. And Samia is coming out with something new in 2024. And Roy Blair, who hasn't, like, released anything since 2019. Like, they've been DJing a little bit, I've seen, but no new projects. So that's crazy. It's, like, been almost 5 years since they released anything, and they literally just respawned, like, 3 days ago on the internet. So I'm excited to see that. Now, let's look back on, like, the episodes that we did this year. So I've released 11 episodes this year, including this one, and I plan on releasing one more, so 12 episodes total this year, before the new year. Yeah, before the new year. And out of the technically 10 artists that I've interviewed, I've seen like 7 of them live this year, which is cool. Like, oh my god, she likes the artists she interviews. Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to say thank you to all those artists for coming on and letting me interview them and letting me ask them questions. And yeah, I also want to say a special thank you to my friends Aaliyah, Caroline, Kai, and Jess. Like, I bounced so many ideas off of them, and they just really help make me feel confident in the stuff that I'm putting out. And I want to thank Richard for also being on the pod, but also making the why can't I think the theme song that you've been listening to for like the past 3 episodes, I believe. Yeah, Richard made that for me, and that's amazing. And I love them for that. And then also just to anyone that's like managers or like PR people that I've worked with this year that have given me the platform to interview artists also. I feel like that's crazy. And it's also so fun. And then also thank you to you guys for listening. I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. Like, I don't know. We have our fun little community, and I love doing this. And I'm excited to put out more episodes in the new year. And I don't know, I have a lot planned, and I'm excited about that. So thank you so much for listening.